we'll start off right at the top here with Tenet with subtitles. So, for those of you who don't know what Tenet is the latest movie in Christopher Nolan's saga. He directed this movie, and I believe he was a part of writing the movie as well. It certainly plays off of the fascination he has with time in a lot of movies that he's directed, at least that I've noticed and that I've researched. He seems to have this fascination with time, and Tenet kind of continues on that play. And to be honest, that's the best way I can describe it for those of you who haven't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend watching it if you've got HBO Max or if you can go out and buy it. It's honestly worth like the $20 it would cost, even if you bought it in 4K. Like, yeah, I deeply enjoyed the movie myself. I went and saw the movie twice in theaters when it came out last Labor Day. It was like one of the first movies that got released in theaters, or at least one of the first. It was the first big title that got released in theaters during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the movie was in a very unique place in cinema history, and who better to do that with than a Christopher Nolan movie? So I'm trying to think of a good way to just give you a little minute rundown of what exactly the movie's about. Basically, we'll start off with who stars in it. John David Washington plays a character dubbed as the protagonist. You actually don't hear his actual name throughout the movie. He's just referred to the entire time as the protagonist. Then you've got Robert Pattinson, who gives an incredible performance in this one as well. He plays the character Neil. And then you've also got Kenneth Branagh, who plays, I'm trying to remember, Andre Sator, that's his name. I keep forgetting names and whatnot. Sometimes there's just so much that goes in my mind, it just escapes me. But anyways, lots of great actors and lots of great performances, and there's a lot of things to love about this movie. Basically, it follows John David Washington as the protagonist and his journey through uh trying to prevent, I'm trying not to give away too much here, trying to prevent just the end of the world essentially. And I'm just going to leave it at that so you guys can go ahead and watch it and enjoy it, because a Christopher Nolan movie only comes around once in a while, and it's just so, it's a full on experience they want you to experience for yourself firsthand. And no matter what explanation I give it, it's not going to serve it a ton of justice. So if you guys want to watch it, it's on HBO Max. Otherwise, feel free to go out and buy it. One of the major things about the movie that a lot of people had trouble with, and that has been a critique of Christopher Nolan movies in the past, is the fact that his sound mixing is a little weird. What do I mean by that? Well, it's like he usually heavily, at some points, whenever the score is playing, it's almost like he turns up the volume up to 100, right? And it's a very overbearing. It really, the music really immerses you into what he's watching. But then it goes back to dialogue, and the dialogue's like really quiet. And then sometimes he'll do this little hybrid in between where the environment is louder than what the characters are saying, the characters' dialogue. And in some cases in the movie, you miss what exactly the characters are saying, and with how quickly paced the movie is and with how complicated the concepts he introduces in the movie are, it gets a little confusing, and it can really get away from you really quickly. So it's like you go through the movie thinking like, there's definitely some things I missed. I'm having a good time. This is a great movie, but there are definitely some things I missed which kept me from appreciating the movie even more. And that's just kind of what my thoughts were going out of the movie when I went and saw it both times in theaters, mind you. I couldn't quite make out everything that the characters were saying, and so a lot of the concepts, like the concept of inversion that he introduces, and you can hear that in the trailer, so it's not much of a spoiler, but like the concept of inversion, like I had a lot of trouble grasping that the two times I went and saw it in the theaters, because I couldn't really understand what the characters were saying, and it didn't completely take me out of the movie. It made me feel like something was missing, but I still heavily enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed all the performances, and I loved it enough to go and see it twice in theaters, despite not being able to put it all together. So if that's any consolation as to how much I liked it, then let that help be your guide as well. But the point here is, I'm trying to answer the question: does watching subtitles help enhance your experience of the movie? And the answer is absolutely yes. So I got HBO Max about a week ago for the sole purpose of again watching Tenet with subtitles, and now ever since then I've watched it 2.5 times with subtitles. And the first time I watched it with subtitles, I understood the concept of inversion a lot more, or just even what was going on really in the movie and what was at stake. I understood it a lot more. I understood a lot more why the protagonist is at these places at these times, what the overall goal is, what the objective is, why are him and Neil working together, what's the overall purpose, where what did the protagonist start off as, what organization was he a part of. It's just those small simple questions, and even some of the bigger ones that I had about the concepts of inversion, reverse entropy, the thing that they refer to in the movie as the algorithm. A lot of those were answered when I was able to watch the movie in subtitles, and it already made my already positive experience with the movie bring it to a score from like a 7 out of 10 to like a 9 out of 10. Like it to me it deeply enhanced my experience, and it made me appreciate the movie a lot more. Like I when you understand the deeper meanings and the concepts, it makes you feel smarter as an audience member, and it also makes you enjoy the ride a little bit more. It more feels like you're in the passenger seat of what Christopher Nolan is trying to do, rather than a bystander who's watching it go by thinking, okay, that looks like fun. But now you're thinking, this looks like fun. I want to understand it even more. And I think I'm going to even probably watch the movie another two, three more times just to understand the other concept he introduces, like the reverse pincer movement. That's still one thing I can't quite put my finger on, but the idea is that with subtitles, a lot more of your questions are answered. And maybe that's another fair critique of Christopher Nolan's movies too, or at least in the case of just Tenet. I think that the concepts introduced in Tenet are very ambitious, and as a film audience member and film lover, I truly appreciate that, because it goes to places that most movies aren't willing to go. But at the same time, for the average moviegoer, it's like you could get easily lost in these movies and basically have this incentive to bow out and just kind of say, I don't get it, which I wouldn't blame you at all. I absolutely wouldn't blame you at all. And I think that any director, if they make the concept so complicated that you have to watch the movie multiple times to understand, that's a little bit on the director, or a lot of it on the director, I should say, because movies shouldn't be, well, I can't sit here and say that movies should or shouldn't be. It's all about the artist's viewpoint of work. But if you're trying to capture the average audience member, having concepts that are too complicated might deter for some people, and that's fine. As long as the artist can portray their work in the manner and vision in which they want, then that's really what's important. And we all just get to benefit from it because Christopher Nolan makes great movies. And this was another one of those movies, at least I believed, was absolutely excellent. And I really loved it. And I continue to watch it. And then plus, not only that, you've got great performances in John David Washington and Robert Pattinson, which I love both of those guys as actors and performers, especially Robert Pattinson. I started following his career a little bit more closely, like within the last 6 months. I've gone back and watched his movies, including Good Time, which he did with the Safdie brothers, The Lighthouse, which he did with Robert Eggers and Willem Dafoe. That was another very, he got to show off his acting chops in those movies, and he gets to do so in Tenet. And I can't wait to see how he did in The Batman, which is going to be coming out in 2022. So again, John David Washington and Robert Pattinson have made really good names for themselves, especially in their performances, and they continue to show that off in Tenet, and that provides some added benefit to it as well. The one thing I really want to mention too, while we're still here on Tenet, is Kenneth Branagh. The fact that he played the professor against the dark arts teacher in The Chamber of Secrets, and now we get to see him play a Russian oligarch who serves as the criminal in this ultimately Tenet's a spy movie, is really interesting, and that kind of shows a little bit of his acting chops too. It's like, wow, he just blew me away. I thought it was just really cool to see that in that transformation. It's just so startling because I've seen both of those movies around the same time. So take that for what it's worth as well if you're looking for something else to look forward to in the movie as well. Excuse me as I grab coffee real quick. So this wouldn't be Coffee and Kernels without a cup of coffee, guys. So for those of you who are listening on audio who can't see this nice warm cup of cocoa in my hand right now, I am again using my coffee is a hug and a mug coffee mug again this week. So cheers to you guys who are listening on audio and watching on YouTube right now. Oh my god, that never gets old. It's still warm too. There's nothing worse than cold cocoa. That's the one thing that really grinds my gears, but I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. I used to be able to drink cold cocoa, but not so much anymore. So guys, if you guys maybe didn't like Tenet without subtitles, or didn't like it the first time you're watching, feel like you missed some things that you wanted answered, or if you already like the movie and want to excel your understanding of it more, I highly encourage you to watch it with subtitles on. it didn't completely up the experience, but it upped the experience for me to the point where I enjoyed it a lot more, and it gave me some rewatch value. Like even right now as I'm recording this, I have it on in the background, just because to me it's so fascinating the special effects that they do. It's all a really good time, and plus it just won an Academy Award for its special effects, so you get to see a little bit of cool stuff there. Just I would love to know and watch the special features where they talk about how they filmed everything in reverse. That would blow me away. So that's going to be on my radar next. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know if you have seen Tenet, what did you think of it? Whatever you thought of it, comment below and let me know. Or if you've seen it with subtitles and without subtitles, what did you make between the two experiences? Let me know that as well. All right, so we're going to transition into the second